this week's episode of Parasyte the Maxim, Shinichi and Migi have a battle to the death with Gotou, which seemingly ends with the demise of Migi, forcing Shinichi to shack up with an old lady by the name of Mitsuo. Did not see that coming. Before I go further with my review, I want to thank you guys, the viewers, the subscribers, the commenters, and the likers. You guys have made our channel possible, and we have just reached over 17,000 subscribers, which is an amazing milestone for the channel. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let's have a strong 2015. Let's get that view count up. I want to hear more from you guys. What shows do you want us to look at in the spring 2015 anime season? And get ready, we have a few cool projects coming in the pipeline. We're working on our next big Naruto movie review, and we have a few special Dragon Ball projects that are in the work that are coming very, very soon. So stay tuned for all of that. Thank you guys again for watching. So let's jump into this week's episode of Parasyte the Maxim, which honestly was not exactly what I was expecting. I was really thinking that Shinichi and Gotou were going to wrap up their entire story in this week's episode, but no, they're building this up to something even greater, because in this week's episode, not only do they not even defeat Gotou, but he seems to go through some sort of weird animalistic transformation and seems to be even more powerful than he was before. And Migi might have almost died in this week's episode. At least that's where I thought they were going, and it was really shocking when it was happening, because suddenly Migi started shriveling up, losing consciousness, and even regretting the fact that he wasn't going to be able to be with Shinichi anymore. And this is a huge bit of character development for this character, who went from being this sort of like robotic insect-like creature to actually being like a useful friend and even family member to Shinichi, which is very strange. He regrets not being able to be with him anymore, but he still loved the fact that he was friends with him and had some really great memories. It's amazing that they were able to bring that much emotion out of a ridiculous-looking creature like that. In fact, every single time I saw Migi this week, he kind of reminded me of that one monster that was in the trash compactor of the Death Star from Star Wars. So Gotou's, like, seemingly invincible. Like, no matter what they do against him, it doesn't work. Frickin' spear fire thrown in his leg, no big deal. Frickin' decapitation, no biggie. He just brings himself back together. And that animation with his face right there was real creepy. And he even seems to go through a further transformation at the end of this week's episode. He looks more animalistic and more monster-like, and he's killing all of the people in this, like, Japanese countryside. And this leads to the second half of the episode, where Shinichi has no choice but to escape, as Migi is dead, and he has no more arm anymore. He's got a big scar across his face, and he's just sort of wandering around aimlessly when he runs into this old woman who at first comes across as just very cantankerous, but really she's just a very sharp-tongued and kind-hearted woman, and she really just wants to look out for Shinichi and take care of him, and she sort of sees him as, like, her nephew. And as the episode is going on, he decides to stay here for a couple of days, clear his head, before he decides to tell his father about all of the crazy events that are going down. That is until he hears about Gotou, who's killing everybody in the countryside, and then has no choice but to get involved. And at the end of the episode, he has to reluctantly leave, realizing he has to put his life on the line for those that he cares about. And he goes running into the woods with a big, rusty, frickin' machete, getting ready to kick some ass. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Parasyte the Maxim? I did not expect it to go in this direction whatsoever. I really didn't think they were going to separate Migi and Shinichi so easily, and just obviously, this is all building up to something a lot bigger, and I still love the fact that even though Migi is gone, like, all the little parts of him, like all the little, like, conscious bits that are inside his body have actually sort of manifested. You can see there's a little eyeball actually hanging out, like, on his arm, which I don't know if that's actually going to be able to grow out, or maybe if it actually meets the other part of Migi that's still in the forest, it might be able to revive him in some way, maybe, like, bring him back into the arm and heal him. I think that would be really awesome, because I didn't honestly expect that I would feel that sad for a creature like Migi, who, up until this point, he hasn't exactly been the most understanding of allies with Shinichi. He's always been sort of looking out for number one, and there have been hints, you know, in the last couple of episodes that he's starting to become slightly more, like, human as the series is going on. In fact, there's a scene in this week's episode, like, right before they were attacking Gotou, where he was telling Shinichi to attack. It actually used Shinichi's voice to do that, and I'm not sure if that was just pure symbolism or not, but I mean, clearly Shinichi heard that, and I'm just guessing that's maybe him just becoming more one with Shinichi, so to speak. I'm really interested to see what Shinichi is going to do without Migi, though, because if he doesn't have his powers at all, like, what's he really going to do? I mean, he still technically probably has, like, his superhuman speed and a little bit of power. He might be able to use that to his advantage. All I know is I can't wait to see what Gotou is going to be, because there's been a lot of, like, teaser images from the intro of the show of some of the crazy transformations that he's going to go through. Like, if you look at the intro, towards the end, you can see his face. It looks all nasty and monstrous, and I just can't wait to see what they're going to do with that. Still, I'm excited for the finale of Parasyte the Maxim. I know it's just right around the corner, and, you know, the more I watched this episode, the more I was also reminded, like, yeah, we have Gotou and everything, and he's a pretty bad guy and everything, but there's also Origami, the character who was introduced a couple of episodes ago, who was teased in the very first episode of the series, who escaped from the police force. I really can't wait to see how that guy is going to be involved, because if they just completely forget about that character, I'm going to be angry. They have to do something more with him, because otherwise, just what was the point of all that scene of him sneaking around, killing the guy, and escaping? There has to be more to that. If that's connected to what's going on here, I'm not sure. All I know is I'm still excited. This was still a pretty good episode right here, and it was an interesting episode. It's the very first one where Shinichi and Migi have been fully separated since, I guess, the very beginning of the very first episode. So, really interesting one right here. Action-packed, and had some pretty nice atmosphere as well, especially the animation, like, of the village that it was in at the end. I really loved everything there. It was very nice calm before the storm, which is definitely coming. So I'm going to give this week's episode a 4 out of 5. Pretty high-quality episode of Parasyte the Maxim, as is the rest of the series. You'd be hard-pressed to not watch this show. It's really great anime, it's really great science fiction, and it's just plain fun. Check it out, guys. Great episode. Thank you guys for watching my review. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And before you leave, please tell me what you thought about this week's episode of Parasyte the Maxim. How did you feel when you thought Migi had actually died? And what do you want to see from the rest of Parasyte the Maxim? Make sure to subscribe to our channel if you have not already, and also follow us on social media like Facebook and on Twitter. And I'd also highly recommend checking out our brand new video podcast series, The Powerful Nerdcast. We talk about anime and comic books and movies and music and really whatever the hell we want. Most recently, we just talked about all the brand new spring anime that's coming out in 2015. And if you guys have a specific show that you guys want us to look at, check out that video and let us know. Thank you guys for watching. Super Kami Guru 9000 out.